Hello and welcome back to Football Daily, where today we're taking a look at the managers without a job that could find themselves back in the dugout very soon. Let's get into it. 10. Sean Dyche. When Sean Dyche was sacked by Burnley in April of this year, with just 8 games of the Premier League season to go, it was widely regarded as the wrong decision. The former defender had been in charge at Turf Moor for 6 months short of a decade, and they were in their 6th consecutive season in the top flight, their longest such spell since the glory days of the 1950s and 60s. Dyche would even lead the Lancashire club into Europe for the first time since 1960 after a 7th place finish in 2017-18, all on a budget far smaller than their competitors, turning the likes of Nick Pope, James Tarkowski and Chris Wood into dependable top-level footballers. As for who could be tempted into hiring the 51-year-old, it's obvious, isn't it? Any club that finds themselves at the wrong end of the table and in a fight to maintain their Premier League status could do much worse than Dyche. Even if the season ends in relegation with him at the helm, there's not many more likely to bring you straight back up than that man either, managing the feat with the Clarets in 2016. 9. José Bordalás. If there's someone that can be considered the continental Sean Dyche, that man would surely be José Bordalás. A disciple of 4-4-2, using the formation 2/3 of the time in his final season with Getafe, he's known for his direct style of play and making his teams very difficult to break down. The 58-year-old won consecutive promotions to La Liga, first with Alaves in 2015-16, then, after they let him go, with Getafe, whom he continued to manage until 2021. In his 4 top-flight years with Los Azulones, they finished in the top half 3 times, including their highest ever finish of 5th in 2019, which itself resulted in reaching the Europa League knockouts the following campaign, beating Ajax before suffering defeat to Inter Milan. This earned him a shot at the Valencia job last season, but he was let go despite achieving a top half finish, an improvement on the season before, while staying true to his footballing principles. That was probably a step too far for Bordalás, but much like Dyche, if a La Liga club is in desperate need of a Spanish firefighter, José could be their go-to man. 8. Marcelino. Few managers can boast having as big an immediate impact as Marcelino at his previous 3 clubs, leaving them all in a far better position than he found them. First up was Villarreal, whom he took over in January 2013 during a faltering campaign in Spain's 2nd tier. By May, they'd won promotion, and 12 months later they'd finished 6th in La Liga, earning Europa League football, a competition the 57-year-old would then take them to the semi-finals of in 2016. Up next came 2 years at Valencia, taking them from back-to-back 12th place finishes to back-to-back 4th place finishes and a first Copa del Rey title in over a decade, something that feels a distant memory for Los Che fans these days. Most recently, Marcelino guided Athletic Club de Bilbao away from a relegation battle upon his January 2021 arrival with a 14-game unbeaten streak to within touching distance of a first European campaign in 5 years. The Spaniard has never managed outside of his homeland, meaning that if a big team is underperforming in La Liga at Christmas, they might just give him a call. 7. Adi Hütter. Over the last decade, Adi Hütter has slowly worked himself up the footballing ladder, starting in Austria, working up to RB Salzburg, where he won the double in his only campaign. He'd swap his homeland for Switzerland in 2015, and upon winning the league in 2018, got a job in the German Bundesliga with Eintracht Frankfurt. While his debut season with Die Adler started with defeat to a 4th-tier side in the Pokal and a 5-0 loss to Bayern, Hütter's side recovered to 7th place and reached the semi-finals of the Europa League. That earned the 52-year-old the Coach of the Year award, which he'd also win in 2020-21, leading Frankfurt to 5th in his final campaign with them. It didn't go to plan with Borussia Mönchengladbach last season, however, losing his job after failing to secure a top-half finish. But we don't think this marks the end of Hütter's ascension. Off-field issues, including the departure of longtime sporting director Max Eberl, contributed to a season of uncertainty. Any club with aspirations of qualifying for Europe could do a lot worse than giving Adi Hütter a shot. 6. Marcelo Bielsa. When the likes of Pep Guardiola and Diego Simeone cite you as one of their greatest influences, you must be pretty good, and that's certainly the case with Marcelo Bielsa. Something of a journeyman heading up 8 clubs in 6 countries, as well as the Argentina and Chile national teams, the 67-year-old is now well into his 4th decade of management. However, the Argentine has never spent more time at a club than he did at his last, racking up 170 games over 4 years with Leeds United, who he led from mid-table in the Championship to the top half of the Premier League. Known for his intense training sessions, unconventional formations and relentless pressing, Bielsa has also impressed at bigger clubs, bringing Athletic Club to within 90 minutes of their first ever European trophy back in 2012. He's not without controversy though. In 2016, he resigned from Lazio 2 days after his appointment, and with Leeds in 2019, he was at the centre of Spygate, having sent scouts to watch the opposition's private training sessions. Any club which decides to hire Bielsa will have to accept they're in for a wild ride, but if it clicks, it could really pay off. 5. Jorge Sampaoli. One disciple of Bielsa is Jorge Sampaoli, despite the Argentine being just 5 years his junior. Like his idolo, Sampaoli has also taken control of the Argentina and Chile national teams and spent time in both Spain and France. And what's more, the pair both spent just a year leading Marseille, with Sampaoli taking the job in 2021, 6 years after Bielsa waved goodbye at the Stade Vélodrome. In the process of repairing his reputation in Europe, following an underwhelming 15 games in charge of his nation, Sampaoli and Marseille was not expected to be a match made in heaven, but it turned out to be just that. The 62-year-old led them to second place, with the second highest number of wins since their last title in 2010, as well as making the semi-finals of the Europa Conference League. With a side containing the likes of Dimitri Payet and Matteo Guendouzi, there was a lot of excitement for what his attacking football could produce this campaign, before he sensationally quit Marseille, claiming the board didn't share his ambitions. So, Sampaoli's back on the market. Just make sure you have a plan in place if you do hire him. 4. Joachim Low. Under any other circumstance, we probably wouldn't suggest someone who's been out of club management for the best part of 2 decades, but obviously Joachim Low is something of an outlier. The German has been out of work since stepping down from his country after their exit from Euro 2020 last year, and by the time this summer rolled around, the 62-year-old had suggested he was ready to get back in the dugout, eyeing up the then vacant PSG role. He didn't get it, of course, but still the former midfielder has an impressive CV. He achieved successive top 4 finishes and a Pokal win with Stuttgart in the late 90s, had a 63% win rate at Fenerbahce, and won the Austrian Bundesliga with Tirol Innsbruck in 2002, all before joining the German setup in 2004. The crowning glory of his 15 years and 198 games with Die Mannschaft is of course the World Cup triumph of 2014, and as a result, Low still holds a lot of reverence in the football community. If he wants a job, he's worth considering, although if he's still cut out for club football will remain a mystery until someone actually does hire him. 3. Mauricio Pochettino. His time at Paris Saint-Germain may have been underwhelming, as is the way when the club continue to miss out on Champions League glory, but there's no doubting that Mauricio Pochettino is still a manager worthy of a top job. He achieved Espanyol's highest position in 6 years in his first full campaign, and took Southampton to 8th in 2012-13, a placing they hadn't bettered since 1990. And despite the fact he didn't win a trophy at Tottenham, he still exceeded expectations, challenging for the Premier League title in back-to-back seasons, as well as reaching the Champions League final in 2018-19. He might have struggled to control the egos in the PSG dressing room, again the norm in the French capital, but across his career the 50-year-old is 4 games short of a 50% win ratio. Impressive, seeing his first 2 jobs were at clubs more likely to battle against relegation than for trophies. Poch might have been beaten to the Chelsea job, presuming he even wanted it, but if another does come available, you can be sure he'll be amongst the favourites to land it. 2. Zinedine Zidane. He might have only ever managed within the Real Madrid system, but Zinedine Zidane has certainly built a reputation as a winner across his spells with the first team. In 4.5 years with Los Blancos, totaling 263 games, the Frenchman led his side to 11 trophies, averaging 1 every 23 matches, including 2 La Liga triumphs and back-to-back-to-back Champions League victories between 2016 and 2018. A somewhat low-key manager, with players often playing outside of a defined style, is a potential mark against his credentials, though his success does say otherwise. However, his apparent reluctance to take another job does leave question marks. Not interested in the Premier League because of the language barrier, it's believed that Zidane is only interested in one job, the French national team. However, Didier Deschamps has held that post since 2012, and by the nature of international football, change at that level is rare. A poor performance from Les Bleus this winter in Qatar could open the door, but in the entirely probable event it doesn't, maybe we'll see Zidane dip his toe back into club football. Where he could go though remains a mystery. 1. Thomas Tuchel. Coming out of nowhere to feature in this list is Thomas Tuchel. Whether or not you agree with Chelsea's decision to sack the 49-year-old, you can't argue that the news came as something of a surprise. After all, he won the Champions League in his first half season at Stamford Bridge, winning 3 trophies in total, as well as reaching the final of another 3 competitions. However, there are also issues that come with the 49-year-old. He's previously been described as difficult to work with by Borussia Dortmund CEO Hans-Joachim Watzke, while new Chelsea owner Todd Boehly called him a nightmare to deal with concerning transfers. There are even reports saying he'd sent his agent to recruitment meetings in his place. There's no doubt that Tuchel will be amongst the favourites for any high-profile job that becomes available across Europe. However, after saying in an open letter following his dismissal from Chelsea he didn't expect to leave so soon, he might just fancy a break from the limelight instead, just like he did for a year after Borussia Dortmund, before bagging himself the PSG job. Because if he wants a job, he'll probably get it. So those are 10 of the most interesting managers out of work right now, but who would you hire for your club? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, drop us a like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and you'll never miss an upload. We'll see you next time.